It was one of those nights where the city feels like it's holding its breath. Not quiet exactly, because there's always some kind of noise downtown, but it's a different kind of loud. The kind that reminds you you're alone even when a million people are nearby. The wind was cutting through the streets like it had an attitude problem, tossing napkins and plastic bags around like confetti from a parade nobody asked for. I was sitting on the edge of an empty bus stop bench, hands shoved in my pockets, pretending I was just waiting for a ride, pretending I wasn't actually waiting for my life to feel like it meant something again. And then I heard a voice, soft enough that I almost thought I imagined it. "You look cold, mister. You can use my blanket." I looked up, and there she was. A kid, really. Not older than maybe 19. Curly hair peeking out from under a knit cap, cheeks red from the wind, holding a blanket so thin it looked like it had been through 5 wars and lost all of them. She offered it like it was something precious, like it wasn't the only thing between her and the freezing concrete at night. I stared at her, confused. I'm fine," I said automatically, because that's what you say when someone offers you something you don't deserve. She shrugged like she'd heard that answer 100 times. "Okay, but you're sitting here like you forgot how to be warm. That's not the same thing." That line hit me so hard I didn't even know what to do with it. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. And yet she saw something that the people in my office, the people in my penthouse, the people shaking my hand at fancy dinners never bothered to notice. She saw that I wasn't okay. My name is Nolan Pierce. Most people in the business world know it. I own a hospitality company that runs luxury resorts, boutique hotels, the kind of places where you pay $300 for a room and they still charge you extra for bottled water. I'm 41, and technically, I'm what people call successful. But success is funny. It doesn't come with instructions on what to do when you finally get everything you thought you wanted and still feel hollow. That night, I wasn't at a board meeting. I wasn't at a gala. I wasn't even at home. I was downtown, in an old neighborhood I used to pass through when I was younger, after I'd lost someone I loved and couldn't stand the silence of my own walls anymore. The girl held the blanket out again, stubborn. "Just take it for a minute. You'll give it back." Her voice wasn't begging. It wasn't pitying. It was matter of fact, like she was lending me a pen. Something inside me cracked open, the part of me that used to believe kindness still existed without strings attached. I took the blanket, feeling ridiculous, and wrapped it around my shoulders. It smelled faintly like laundry soap and smoke, like someone had tried hard to keep it clean, even when life wasn't. She sat down at the far end of the bench like she didn't want to crowd me. "What's your name?" I asked. She hesitated, then said, "Call me Lark." "That your real name?" She smiled, small and guarded. "It's the one I like best." I nodded, because honestly, I understood that more than she probably knew. I reached into my coat and pulled out a paper bag. I hadn't planned to eat, but my hotel's kitchen sent leftovers home with me sometimes, and I had a warm cinnamon roll and a cup of coffee in there. I held the bag out. "You want this?" She stared at it like it might be a trick. "Why?" "Because you gave me your blanket," I said. "And because you look like you haven't eaten anything that didn't come from a vending machine in a while." That got a laugh out of her, quick and surprised. She took the cinnamon roll, then looked at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "You don't talk like the guys who come down here to feel better about themselves." I smirked. "Oh, I'm still working on feeling better about myself. Trust me." She shook her head and took a bite, eyes closing like she'd forgotten what warm food did to a body. That should have been it. A small moment, a random act, the kind of thing you remember once and then forget. But I couldn't, because when she took that bite, the way her shoulders relaxed, the way her face softened, it reminded me of my sister. My little sister, Jamie, who used to steal pastries from our neighbor's kitchen when we were broke and laugh like the world couldn't touch her. Jamie didn't make it to adulthood, and that grief never really left me. It just turned into ambition and work and money. A shiny disguise for loneliness. So the next night, I came back. Same bench, same bus stop, same wind acting like it paid rent. And there she was again, tucked into the corner of an abandoned storefront alcove, scribbling in a notebook under a small flashlight. I didn't walk up like a hero. I stayed a few feet away and cleared my throat so I wouldn't scare her. She looked up instantly, eyes sharp. Then she relaxed when she recognized me. "Oh, it's Blanket Guy." "Nice," I said. "That's my new identity." "Better than rich tourist," she answered, and that stung because she wasn't wrong. I crouched down. "What are you writing?" She hesitated, then angled the notebook away like it was private. But then she sighed and flipped it open just enough for me to see the top page. Children's stories. Short ones. Simple ones. Drawings of animals with little speech bubbles. It was oddly beautiful. You write these? I asked. Yeah, she said, suddenly defensive. Don't laugh. I'm not laughing, I told her. I'm impressed. She blinked, like she wasn't used to that. Over the next week, it became a routine. I'd show up with coffee and food. She'd show up with sarcasm and stories. Sometimes we'd talk. Sometimes we'd just sit there and listen to the city. And the weird part was, those nights felt more real than anything in my actual life. I wasn't Nolan Pierce, CEO. I was just Nolan, a guy sitting on a bench with a girl who refused to let the world swallow her whole. Then one night, everything shifted. A storm rolled in fast, one of those ugly spring storms that makes downtown streets slick and dangerous. I spotted her across the intersection, standing too close to the curb, holding her blanket tight, trying to block the wind. A car came flying around the corner too fast, hydroplaned, and sent a wave of water straight toward her like it was aiming for her. I didn't think. I just ran, grabbed her arm, yanked her back hard enough that she stumbled into my chest. The water slammed into the sidewalk where she'd been standing and soaked my pants from the knees down. She stared up at me, wide-eyed. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered, "You could have gotten hurt." I shrugged, teeth chattering. "Yeah, well, I'm not exactly known for making smart emotional decisions." She blinked, then laughed, and it sounded like relief. But then she pulled away, and her expression changed. "Why do you keep coming back?" she asked. Not accusing, just genuinely confused. I opened my mouth to answer and realized I didn't have a clean explanation. Because the truth was messy. Because I was lonely. Because she reminded me of someone. Because she was the only person who didn't want anything from me. I don't know, I admitted. But I do know when I'm here. I feel like I'm not running. She looked at me for a long time, eyes heavy. "Most people run from me," she said. "Or they try to fix me like I'm a broken chair." I shook my head. "I'm not trying to fix you." "Good," she said sharply. "Because I don't want saving. I want respect." That line hit me again. This girl had been treated like she was invisible, disposable, and she still knew her worth. That was something I didn't even have. A few days later, I made a decision. Not to rescue her, not to save her, but to open a door. I ran a youth outreach program quietly through my company. We donated to shelters, literacy programs, job training. But it was all corporate and distant. Checks signed and forgotten. Lark wasn't a statistic. She was a person, a writer. So I arranged something small. A paid event at one of my hotels downtown, a weekend family storytelling session. I didn't put my name on it. I didn't even tell my staff why. I just told them, "We need a storyteller, someone authentic." Then I asked Lark. "I'm not doing charity." She snapped instantly when I suggested it. "It's not charity," I said. "It's work. You tell stories. Kids listen. You get paid." She narrowed her eyes. "How much?" I told her. She blinked. "That's too much." "No," I said. "That's what you're worth." She stared at me like she didn't know what to do with that. The day of the event, she showed up wearing borrowed jeans and a clean sweater, hair still messy, but eyes bright. She looked terrified. "What if they hate me?" she whispered. "Kids don't hate," I told her. "Adults do. And we're not letting the adults win." She gave me a look, half amused, half emotional. "You talk like you've been punched by life, too." I chuckled. "Yeah, well, life has a mean right hook." She went out there and read her stories. And the kids leaned in. They laughed, they clapped, they asked questions. Parents smiled like they hadn't smiled in weeks. It was magic, real magic, the kind money can't buy. I stood in the back watching, feeling something warm rise in my chest. And then I heard two of my managers whisper behind me, "Mr. Pierce is gonna love this. This is exactly the brand image he wants for community outreach." Lark heard it too. Her smile froze for half a second, then she kept reading. But I saw it. The shift, the suspicion, the feeling of being tricked. After the event, she walked up to me slowly, holding her notebook like a shield. "Pierce," she said. "Not Nolan. Pierce." "What?" I asked carefully. Her eyes were sharp, hurt. "Who are you really?" I swallowed. Because I'd known this moment was coming. I just didn't want it to come like this. "My name is Nolan Pierce," I admitted. "And yeah, I own the company." Her face went blank. "So this whole time?" "No," I said quickly. "No, Lark, listen. I didn't come down there because you were homeless. I came down there because you were human. Because you talked to me like I wasn't a walking wallet. She shook her head, stepping back like I burned her. That's what rich people say, she whispered, when they want to feel like heroes. I don't want to be a hero, I said, voice cracking. I just didn't want to be alone anymore. And you made me feel less alone. She stared at me for a long time. Then she said something that stopped me cold. You should have told me. Because now I don't know if you liked me. Or if you liked the feeling of being good. And then she walked away. Just like that. No dramatic yelling. No tears. Just quiet disappointment. The kind that hurts more because it's honest. For 3 days, she didn't show up at the bus stop bench. I went anyway, like an idiot, sitting there alone with 2 coffees and a paper bag of pastries, feeling stupid. The 4th night, she finally appeared. She didn't sit close. She stayed standing, arms crossed, blanket wrapped around her shoulders like armor. You still cold, mister? She asked, voice flat. I exhaled. Yeah, I admitted. But not because of the weather. She rolled her eyes, but her lips twitched like she almost smiled. You always talk like you're auditioning for a sad movie. You're not wrong, I said. But I'm also not lying. She walked closer, stared at me, then said quietly, I don't want your money. Okay, I said. Then don't take it. She narrowed her eyes. I want options. I want work. I want my own life. I nodded. Then let's build that. Slowly. On your terms. She studied my face. Why? And that was the moment I decided to stop hiding behind clever answers. Because when my sister died, I said, voice low, I promised myself I'd never let someone I cared about disappear like that again. And I broke that promise a lot. I'm trying to keep it now. Her expression softened, just slightly. You can't save people from disappearing, she whispered. No, I said. But I can stop pretending I don't see them. She sat down beside me, finally, leaving space between us, but not a wall. We didn't hug. We didn't have some cheesy movie moment. We just sat there, 2 people sharing a bench in a city that didn't care. And that felt more intimate than any kiss. Here's the part that makes people argue when I tell this story. Lark didn't move into my penthouse. She didn't become my project. She didn't suddenly transform into some perfect success story overnight. She kept her edge. She kept her pride. She took the job, kept writing, saved money, and still slept in her van for a while because she didn't trust stability yet. And I didn't push. I just kept showing up. I learned that love isn't always a grand confession. Sometimes it's simply staying. But the twist, the thing that still keeps me up at night, is that 1 month later, I found out why she really didn't want saving. Someone in her past had tried, and it came with strings, and threats, and control. She'd rather freeze than be owned again. That's why she offered me her blanket first. Because giving kindness was safer than receiving it. So here's my question for you, and I want you to be honest in the comments. Was I wrong for hiding who I was? If you were Lark, would you have walked away the second you found out? Or do you believe people deserve to be seen as human before they're seen as their title, their bank account, their status? And here's the bigger one. When someone offers you warmth, do you take it? Or do you push it away because you're scared it'll come with a price? Drop your thoughts below. I read every comment. And if this story hit you in the chest even a little, hit like, subscribe, and tell me. What's the smallest act of kindness you've ever seen that completely changed someone's life?